No one remembered when the dragon egg first arrived. That was the problem. It sat at the center of Vault 17, suspended in a cradle of gravitic fields and transparent alloy, its surface a deep, muted black veined with faint silver lines like frozen lightning. The plaque beneath it had been rewritten so many times that the dates no longer agreed. Age, unknown. Status, inactive. Threat level, none. Scholars preferred cleaner words. Relic. Artifact. Failure. Dragons were not supposed to leave eggs behind. Their kind burned bright, ruled fiercely, and vanished only in catastrophe. Yet this egg had endured empires rising and collapsing around it, untouched by war, unmoved by time. Most unsettling of all, it was cold. Not dormant cold. Not sleeping cold. Dead stone cold. Sensors pressed against its shell read absolute neutrality. No thermal variation. No magical resonance. No quantum fluctuation. Not even decay. The galaxy's best instruments could not decide whether it was a corpse or a miracle preserved too well. So eventually, the galaxy stopped trying. Vault 17 became a stop on guided tours, an educational curiosity. Proof that even dragons had limits. Proof that eternity always won. That was why security was minimal. Nothing had happened in centuries. On the day of the human delegation's visit, the vault was busier than usual. Alien dignitaries floated past in orderly lines, translators murmuring rehearsed explanations. Curators gestured at the egg with professional disinterest. And here, one said, we see a confirmed non-viable dragon egg. Frozen long before recorded history. A reminder that. He stopped mid-sentence. A human child had slipped the group. The boy was small, no more than 7 standard cycles. Dark hair. Oversized jacket. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone used to wandering off without meaning to. While the adults argued over data and legacy, the child had done something no one else ever did. He walked straight up to the containment field. A guard noticed too late. Hey, step back. The boy didn't. He pressed both palms flat against the transparent barrier and leaned forward until his forehead rested against it. His breath fogged the surface in a small, uneven patch. Inside the cradle, the egg remained motionless. The guard hesitated. The field registered no breach. The child wasn't dangerous. Just, close. Kid, the guard said more gently now, you can't touch that. The boy didn't answer. He wrapped his arms around the containment column as far as they would go, cheek pressed sideways, as if hugging something much smaller than it really was. And then, very softly, he spoke. The vault microphones did not register the words. Not because they malfunctioned. Because the sound never traveled outward. Inside the containment field, something shifted. Not a crack. Not a glow. A sensation. Deep within the egg's layered shell, where even dragon elders believed nothing remained, a thread of awareness stirred, confused, faint, ancient. For the first time in centuries, the egg was not alone. A single sensor blinked. Once. Then steadied. Temperature variance, plus 0.003 degrees. So small it was automatically flagged as noise. So insignificant no one noticed. Except the egg. And the child, who smiled, just a little, as if something had smiled back. The alarm was so quiet that no one reacted to it at first. A single chime, soft, polite, sounded from a console tucked behind a pillar. It wasn't the sharp wail of a breach or the flashing crimson of a threat. Just a notification tone, the kind engineers heard 1,000 times a day and learned to ignore. Minor anomaly detected. The technician on duty frowned and leaned closer to the display. That's odd. The readout showed a thermal variance inside Vault 17's primary exhibit. Not heat. Not really. A whisper of warmth. Probably a calibration drift, another technician said without looking up. Those sensors are older than half the council. Still, the first replied, fingers already moving. This one hasn't drifted in 400 years. They ran a quick diagnostic. The system reset. Numbers recalibrated. Baselines restored. Inside the containment cradle, the dragon egg remained dark and still. The temperature returned to 0. For exactly 3 seconds. Then it rose again. Plus 0.003 degrees. The technician's brow creased. That's the same value. That's impossible, the curator said, irritation creeping into his voice. If it were real heat, it would fluctuate. If it were error, it wouldn't repeat. The guard near the exhibit cleared his throat. Ah. The kid's still there. All eyes turned. The human child had not moved. He sat cross-legged now at the base of the containment column, arms wrapped around his knees, back pressed against the transparent barrier. His head rested against the glass, eyes half closed, as if listening to something far away. "Remove him," the curator snapped. "This isn't a playground." The guard approached carefully. "Hey, buddy. We talked about this. You gotta step away." The boy looked up. "It's cold," he said. "Yes," the guard replied patiently. "That's why you shouldn't." "No," the child insisted, placing his palm flat against the barrier again. It was cold. The room went quiet. Another chime sounded. This time, more than one console responded. Thermal variance, plus 0.006 degrees. Magical resonance, negligible, but present. The curator's mandibles clicked sharply. "Run a full scan. Now." Technicians scrambled. Fields were rechecked. External heat sources eliminated. Power fluctuations ruled out. The containment system itself was isolated from the rest of the vault. Still, the numbers climbed, slowly, stubbornly, unmistakably. Not enough to be life. But too much to be nothing. "This doesn't make sense," one scientist murmured. "There's no energy input. No activation trigger. No." He stopped when the analysis overlay updated. Source of variance, external contact duration. All eyes drifted back to the child. "That's ridiculous," someone said. "He's not even touching the shell." "No," the technician replied softly. "But he's touching the field. And the field is compensating." The child leaned forward again, pressing his small body closer, arms spreading wide as if the barrier weren't there at all. "It's okay," he whispered. This time, the microphones caught it. The egg responded. Not with sound. With memory. Deep within the shell, something ancient recoiled, not in fear, but in recognition. Long-buried instincts stirred. The warmth was not fire. Not magic. It was steady. Rhythmic. Alive in a way the galaxy had never measured. A heartbeat. Outside the vault, alarms began to escalate. Inside, the dragon egg, frozen since before history, began, impossibly, to remember what warmth felt like. And the child did not let go. The vault was sealed within minutes. Not because of danger. Because of confusion. Council scientists flooded Vault 17, their arrival marked by lead security fields and the low hum of emergency protocols. The Dragon Elders were notified, their distant presences felt long before their ships entered the system. At the center of it all sat the human child. Calm. Quiet. Unafraid. He remained where the guards had placed him, on a low bench just meters from the containment cradle. A soft thermal blanket was draped over his shoulders, though he didn't seem cold at all. The egg, however, no longer read as neutral. Thermal variance holding at plus 0.02, a scientist reported, disbelief tightening her voice. That's not residual heat. That's sustained. Magical resonance? Asked another. Still negligible. But, organized. That word unsettled the room. The lead xenobiologist turned toward the human delegation. Explain. The parents looked as lost as everyone else. The father shook his head. He's just a kid. He doesn't have implants. No augments. No training. They scanned the boy anyway. Every system came back clean. No latent magic. No psychic amplification. No genetic markers tied to dragons or any known high-energy species. Just a human child with a resting heart rate slightly above average, likely excitement, and skin temperature well within baseline. So how, the curator demanded, is he doing this? The human scientist hesitated before answering. Doing what, exactly? Activating a dragon egg that's been inert for centuries. The human frowned. You keep using that word. Activating. He stepped closer to the display, eyes moving between the child and the slowly warming egg. I don't think he's activating anything, the scientist said carefully. I think he's maintaining it. The room fell silent. Humans evolved on unstable worlds, the scientist continued. Temperature swings. Predators. Environmental stress. Our young survive by proximity. Touch. Shared warmth. That's irrelevant, snapped an alien researcher. Countless species use contact bonding. Yes, the human agreed. But most species bond to communicate. Or to dominate. Or to imprint hierarchy. He gestured toward the boy. Humans bond to stabilize. As if on cue, the child slid off the bench and walked back to the barrier. No one stopped him this time. He placed one hand flat against the transparent field. The egg's temperature increased by another fraction. Cracks had not formed. But something else had. A pattern. Thermal readings traced slow, looping currents across the shell, circulation, not heat spread. Rhythm, not reaction. A dragon elder's voice resonated through the chamber as their transmission finally connected. This egg was not dead, the elder said. It was waiting. For what? Someone whispered. The elder's eyes fixed on the child through the projection. For the one thing dragons could never provide. The child leaned closer, forehead resting against the barrier once more. You're not alone, he said quietly. Inside the shell, ancient instincts stirred deeper than fire. The egg did not awaken to power. It awakened to presence. And across the vault, for the first time, scientists stopped asking how. And began asking why. The first crack did not come with a sound. No sharp report. No dramatic shatter. It came as a line, thin as a hair, appearing along the dragon egg's surface, where the faint silver veins met at a long-forgotten junction. Sensors hesitated, then recalibrated in disbelief. Structural integrity, changing. Every being in Vault 17 froze. The child felt it before anyone else did. He straightened, hands still pressed against the containment field, eyes wide, not with fear, but with wonder. It's waking up, he whispered. No, one of the scientists murmured, voice trembling. It shouldn't be able to. The shell's been vitrified for centuries. The crack lengthened anyway. A soft warmth pulsed outward, not hot enough to burn, not bright enough to blind. Just, alive. The containment field compensated automatically, its system struggling to categorize a response that was neither magical nor mechanical. The dragon elders arrived moments later. Their massive forms filled the upper galleries, wings folded, ancient eyes fixed on the cradle. None spoke. None moved. Their presence alone forced silence. One elder lowered his head. Stand back, a guard began. The elder ignored him. That egg, the elder said quietly, was laid during the long silence. Several scholars stiffened. The long silence was spoken of only in fragments, a period when dragons withdrew from the galaxy, when entire clutches were abandoned to protect something greater than pride or power. It was not abandoned, the elder continued. It was hidden. The crack widened. Another line branched from it, then another, slow and deliberate. There was no violence in the motion. No struggle. This was not a birth forced by heat or spell. It was an answer. Inside the shell, memory flooded back, echoes of flight through ash-filled skies, of worlds collapsing under war, of elders choosing patience over extinction. The egg had been sealed, insulated against time itself. But time had never been the trigger. Warmth had been. Not fire. Not magic. Warmth with no demand attached. The child's breathing steadied, his small chest rising and falling in a slow rhythm. The egg mirrored it. Sensors spiked, not in temperature, but in coherence. A dragon elder exhaled, smoke curling gently from his nostrils. It recognizes him. Why? A scientist asked. The elder's gaze softened. Because he did not command it to live. The shell opened at last, petals of obsidian peeling back like a careful unfolding rather than a break. Inside lay a dragon hatchling, small and fragile, scales pale and faintly luminous. It did not cry. It did not roar. It lifted its head, unsteady, and pressed it gently against the containment barrier, exactly where the child stood. Without hesitation, the child wrapped his arms around the glass, laughing softly through tears. The hatchling mirrored the motion, tiny claws resting where his hands were. Across the vault, the dragon elders knelt. Not in submission. In recognition. The galaxy had witnessed power awaken before. But this? This was something that had waited centuries to be held. The galaxy did not erupt into panic. That, more than anything, surprised the council. There were no emergency war summons, no quarantine edicts, no frantic military posturing. Instead, there was silence, the kind that followed understanding arriving too suddenly to argue with. Vault 17 was reclassified within hours. Not as a containment site. Not as a relic hall. As a nursery. The dragon hatchling remained within the cradle, the containment field lowered to a gentle stabilizer rather than a barrier. Its small body rested close to the transparent wall, head pressed against it, eyes half-lidded in unmistakable comfort. The human child sat nearby, cross-legged, drawing crooked pictures on a tablet. Every time the child laughed, the hatchling's tail twitched. Every time the child leaned closer, the hatchlings' warmth stabilized. The dragon elders stayed. Not as guards. As witnesses. This changes everything, one counselor said quietly during the emergency session. Dormant eggs across the galaxy, those declared lost, may not be dead at all. They were never dead, the eldest dragon replied. They were waiting for conditions we ourselves could not provide. The council revised centuries of biological law in a single session. Not all life awakens to energy. Not all life responds to power. Some life requires presence without threat. A new classification was added to the xenobiological archives. Dormant draconic state, warmth responsive. Recommended stabilization method, sustained human contact. The phrase spread faster than any fleet ever could. Humans were consulted, not as warriors, not as conquerors, but as caretakers. Colonization protocols changed. Exploration teams began including human volunteers, not for strength, but for something far harder to quantify. Consistency. Patience. Touch without demand. The child returned home weeks later. There were no medals. No ceremonies. No speeches. Just a dragon hatchling watching quietly from behind reinforced glass as a small human waved goodbye. The bond did not fade. It did not need proximity to endure. Years passed. The child grew. The hatchling did too, slowly, steadily, healthily. They met again, many times, always with the same quiet certainty. Across the galaxy, lost eggs warmed. Not all hatched. But none were forgotten again. And among the stars, a simple truth replaced centuries of misunderstanding. The galaxy tried to awaken life with power. Humans arrived with warmth. Life chose the warmth. The elders recorded it in their final report, a sentence meant for future ages. Some miracles are not forged. They are held. Dragon sparkles.